2022 Ford Maverick XLT 2-liter turbo all-wheel drive FX4 tow package. And I have about 10,000 miles on this truck. I personally, sorry for the wind, it's really windy today, have never owned an American car before. I have owned 3 new Toyota vehicles in the last 10 years. 2013 FRS, aka Toyota GT86. I bought a 2018 automatic Toyota Tacoma. And I couldn't stand it, the transmission, so bad that I traded it in with only 3,000 miles for my last truck, which was a 2019 Toyota Tacoma TRD off-road premium package, technology package. So it's fully loaded, but it was sounded awesome. And I was really lucky at the time. I had a company vehicle, so all the miles were for fun. None of them were commuting because of the gas mileage. I lived 26 miles from a grocery store in Montana, and in the Tacoma I would get like 14 to 16 in the winter and 17 to 19 in the summer. The manual got worse than the automatic in the newer Tacoma. So the story behind this Maverick is wild. I put money down on December 31st, 2021. December 31st. In July of 22, I had to delete the luxury package, else I was told I wasn't going to get the truck. So the truck finally arrived to Montana, which cannot get farther from Hermosa, Mexico, where it's made, on December 15th. So that's 351 days. I waited for this 2022 Ford Maverick XLT Cactus Gray FX4 tow package, all-wheel drive 2.0 liter turbo. Additional options, I got the full-size spare, rubber floor mats, and the engine block heater, which down in Las Vegas, I'm gonna take that plug off the front of the truck because someone down here might think it's a hybrid and plug it in when it's 117, which probably won't be good. $29,753. I do have the original window. Lifelong Toyota owner reviewing a Ford, and we'll go with the 5 things that I love about this vehicle. Not like, but 5 things that I love. The engine on this truck blows the doors off the Toyota Tacoma 3.4 liter V6. It's a 2-liter turbo, horizontally opposed, so it sits sideways. Front wheel drive car basically, but this engine has 13 foot-pounds more of torque than a Toyota Tacoma. And this vehicle weighs 1,000 pounds less. So I'm not a math genius, but that's pretty simple math. 13 foot-pounds more torque with the turbo, all the low-end torque. So you actually have power at 2,000 or 3,000 RPM. Versus the 3.4 liter was gutless until about 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. 3,400, I think, was the mark. Gas mileage. It's unbelievable. You go 100 miles farther on 6 less gallons. 100 miles farther on 6 less gallons. I love the all-wheel drive system. Here's a shot of the back end. That blue wire is some auxiliary lights I put in the bed. That's not OEM. But the all-wheel drive system is fantastic. All-wheel drive system. Love the all-wheel drive in the Ford Maverick. Front-wheel drive car basically kicks in the back wheels if it needs it, and it just feels safer than a Toyota Tacoma in 2-wheel drive. If you put a Toyota in 4-wheel drive, the gas mileage goes way down. It gets really bulky and clunky, but you can drive through 3 feet of snow. but it's really hard to drive around in a small parking lot. This is really nimble and agile, and the all-wheel drive kicks in really quickly. The only time I don't like it is when you know you're going to hit the gas and you need four-wheel drive right away. The computer or differentials take a split second to kick in versus having a four-wheel drive truck where you just have it locked in. The transmission. Toyota, I love Toyota, but they're stuck in like 1990. They're trying to get out of it, but big motors with 6-speed transmissions is seriously 1990 technology. This truck has 8 gears and a teeny little 2-liter turbo. The 8-speed transmission does not hunt gears at all. Zero, zilch, nada. I bought a 2018 Toyota Tacoma automatic. I lived in Salt Lake at the time, and I drove down to Las Vegas, and I hated it so much that I went to the dealer in Salt Lake and said, hey, I need to trade this in on a manual. They had 2 manuals out of 100 trucks in Salt Lake at the time, and I traded it in, lost a bunch of money for that 6-speed manual 2019 Tacoma. The 3rd generation Tacoma from 2016 to at least 2019, you can read countless articles about the transmission. And one thing that I really love about this truck versus the Tacoma is the driver's seat position. On the Tacoma, the driver's seat position is really uncomfortable. Your feet sit very far out, almost at a 30-degree angle. I'm just under 6 foot tall, and I can adjust the seat to get my knees to almost a 90-degree angle. And it's a little narrower than a Tacoma, but it's taller. And I had the sunroof in the Tacoma, which takes head clearance away, but it just feels much bigger than a Tacoma, even though it's smaller. Okay, I'll go over 5 things real quick that I don't like about this vehicle. And so I love this truck, but I'll give you 5 things that I don't like about it. The bed, it's too short. I can't fit my skis in the bed, so that's just really annoying. I either have to get a rack or bring my travel bag and then bungee cord it into the back. It's just something that if I own this truck full-time permanently, I would have to figure out a way to get my skis in the back of the bed. The back seat doesn't fold down. I don't get it. So the Toyota, the back seat folds down really well, really nice. And I don't know what the engineers were doing here. You do have cup holders versus the Tacoma does not. A little armrest for 2 people. But when you pull the lever to get this down, the seat belt is in the way. So I don't know what you're supposed to do there. Just pull it all the way down with the seat belt? I'm confused. It does have storage back there, but the Tacoma, the back seat folded down, this one folded up, and you got tons of room, and it was all hard plastic areas. I have an ice cold cooler, and the only way for me to get it in here is to set it on the fabric, which I don't like. On the Tacoma, you could fold it all around, all hard surfaces. I did believe this was an upgrade. I got the back seat underneath cargo holder. So living in Montana, you need to carry a bunch of stuff so you don't die. Gloves, compressor, shovel, probably a bunch of other safety stuff in there. Maps. You can fit a lot of stuff underneath the back seat. That I don't know what the engineer was doing who designed this, but they must live in Florida. You got to be able to take your wipers up. You can only take your wipers up about an inch there, 2 inches, before you hit the hood. So you're actually, when you get snow and ice all over your windshield, living up north, you bang into the hood and scratch the vehicle. And you can't take them up and leave them up, which when it snows where I live all the time, it's kind of a nice thing to be able to do. But I guess whoever designed that lives in Orlando. All right, back inside the truck here. One of the things that you can't do is select the gears manually in this vehicle. If you hit low, it'll just go all the way to first gear. And I have driven manual transmissions my whole life, so that is really confusing to me, to not be able to shift gears. What is good about this truck though is it has the terrain modes here, and so you can select different modes. Tow haul, excellent for going up and down mountains, keeps you up a gear or down a gear. Slippery, I've never used that. Mud ruts, I've never used that. Sand is what I've heard all the other reviews says gives the least computer assistance and lets the truck drive freest. I have used that. And normal. You also can take the traction control off. And you also have this, which is a hill start assist. So if you're on a hill, it will not let you roll backwards. And this comes to the tow haul, which you have to be doing less than 10 miles an hour to engage that. We'll turn the traction control back on. All right, one of the things I really don't like about this truck is the auto start stop of the motor. And it just engages way too quick. Look at that, I just barely stop and feel how rough it is, and then it starts back up. I personally don't like that at all. Coming from someone who owns manuals, it feels like the car stalls. And I'm about to make a right-hand turn here, and watch. It'll kill the motor before I can, if you just come to a full complete stop, and it'll kill the motor, and then try and go, it delays. I don't like that. I think that's dangerous. If you're pulling out onto a high-speed area, and that delay, that split second, half-second delay is dangerous. So what I do is I just, once it does it once to me, I hit that button and then it deactivates it. Now in Las Vegas, where there are 2-minute stoplights, you can just reach down and hit that button to turn it back on, and then it'll kill the motor if you want to. But I personally, I feel like it's really rough on the vehicle, and I don't know that it's going to give you that much of a benefit, you know, long term. I mean, if you need a new starter or alternator because it has to start all the time, did you really save any money? And the safety factor, I just think it's dangerous when you're pulling onto high-speed roads and you have that split-second delay. So I have that turned off. I'll give you 6 strange things about this vehicle. My Tacoma was an S&B air intake 3.4 liter V6. It sounded pretty mean. This sounds like a sewing machine. It's embarrassing almost, but that's okay. That's what all cars sound like nowadays. There's no good 2-liter turbo sounding, there's no good sounding 2-liter turbo on the market. It's just, there isn't one. This is very, very strange to me. I do not like this at all. Toyota does a really good job of segregating the climate from the infotainment. There's no reason to have these connected. When you move this dial, it shouldn't display up there. It should be down here like it is on a Toyota. I have had this screen lock up, and it's annoying. Then you don't know what's going on. You can't tell what happens when you change the gauges. And it actually happened to me when it was negative 20 degrees outside in Dillon, Montana area. And I had to pull over and wait about 6 minutes for the computer to totally shut down and cold boot it again before it would work. And I didn't want to do that, so I just kept driving for 2 hours with not knowing what the fan speed or the heat was doing. I could tell it was changing, it just wasn't moving on the screen. So I would keep those separate like Toyota does. There's a weird squeaking gremlin inside the dashboard sometimes when you hit certain speeds and wind directions and vent settings. It will drive you nuts if you're someone that doesn't like rattles. I'm getting old, I guess, but there's no light on this ignition ring. All Toyotas have a light there. So with tinted windows and it's dark out, it's kind of hard to see where to put the key. This vehicle doesn't beep when you put it in reverse. Technology, the more we put it in cars, I feel like the dumber people get. And I became one of those people. I became reliant on technology to where I would assume that the truck was going to beep at me to stop, and it doesn't. So now my Tacoma would be going nuts. Hey, stop, dude, you're going to hit that. This doesn't do that, so I had to get used to that. And one thing that is good, I guess, but it was kind of annoying, is I got brighted almost a dozen times on a 2-lane highway, from Ely, Nevada to Las Vegas. I got brighted at least a dozen times. And all new cars, the lights are a little brighter, but the way these are designed, it makes people think that you're brighting them with your low beams. And I'll show you how. So there you go. You have 2 lights. Now, oncoming traffic thinks that's your brights for some reason. And I seriously, I got brighted close to a dozen times on a 3-hour trip. And there is your bright lights. There are your bright lights. You have 3 lights. And you can tell that that one's really bright. But for whatever reason, I was getting brighted like crazy. I want to give an overall review of this truck. I absolutely love this little truck. I am pleasantly surprised, being a lifelong Japanese car owner, and the advancement in the engine and transmission of this truck. It just feels like you're driving a modern vehicle versus, as Car and Driver called Toyota, Jurassic. Some of their vehicles are. I mean, the current Toyota 4Runner is running 2004 engine and transmission. This vehicle, engine and transmission, blows the doors off a 3rd generation Toyota Tacoma. Just plain and simple. It does. It gets way better gas mileage, and it's way faster. Way more fun to drive. My biggest problem with this truck is I can't get my skis in the back. That is really about it. Time will tell the reliability factor of this truck versus Toyota. That 3rd generation Tacoma, 2019 plus, 3 or 4 years into that generation, is probably the most reliable vehicle in the history of the world. And that's a pretty strong statement, but for a modern 2000 or newer vehicle, that 3rd generation Tacoma is probably #1 in reliability. I don't know how reliable this vehicle is. It does have the powertrain from the Ford Bronco Sport, so it is not a new platform. So it's been tried and tested for at least 2 or 3 years before it was put in this vehicle. And overall, this vehicle is going to win 85% of the time over a Toyota Tacoma. A lifelong Toyota owner, I love them, but this little truck 85% of the time beats a Toyota Tacoma. The only time a Toyota Tacoma is going to win is in deep snow. I personally have driven through 3 feet of snow before in a Tacoma with no problem, and literally 3 feet. And this vehicle's not going to. The Maverick's going to get a win 85% of the time. It's so much more comfortable. It's more fun to drive. It gets insanely better gas mileage. It gets insanely better gas mileage. The look is modern. It looks cool. It looks neat. The color schemes that they have, this cement or cactus gray, is a really sharp look. But the Tacoma, it's going to win off-road and in deep snow. That is it. It's not going to win anywhere else except for reliability. This vehicle only has 9,000 miles on it. I have no idea how reliable it is going to be because somebody wants to buy it, and I am selling it today because I have a 2023 that is showing up here very shortly. So please follow and subscribe to the channel. Follow the 2023 Ford Maverick, which is going to be the same truck with the luxury package in a different color that we are going to modify a little bit. This one I didn't do anything to because I knew I was going to sell it right away. So overall, I love it. it's going to win, like I said, 85% of the time. The gas mileage is insane compared to a Tacoma. It feels free almost after owning a Tacoma. If you want a baby little trucklet crossover SUV that's going to beat a Tacoma 85% of the time for normal life driving, the little baby Maverick is what you want. If you live somewhere where you need a vehicle that can go through deep snow all the time, South Lake Tahoe, Alta, Utah, you need a Tacoma. It's going to win. If you want to go down to Moab and rock crawl, this isn't going to work. You need a Toyota Tacoma. It's legendary for that, or a Jeep. But the little baby Maverick is a truly fantastic product that I was pleasantly surprised with, that I will say blows the doors off a Toyota Tacoma.